Did you know what the first coin in history was? Before the invention of money, humanity lived under a barter system. It was a completely different reality from today. There was no cash, no credit cards, no banks, just necessity and whatever people had to offer in return. Farmer could trade a sack of wheat for a sheep. Fisherman might offer fish in exchange for tools. A craftsman could earn food by handing over a pair of handmade sandals. It was a world where value was subjective and depended entirely on urgency and abundance. But as you can imagine, this system had many flaws. Barter required a double coincidence of wants. In other words, both parties had to want exactly what the other offered. But what if the fisherman wanted wheat and the farmer didn't care for fish? The deal simply wouldn't happen. Moreover, it was hard to store value, calculate fair prices, or conduct large-scale exchanges. It was a limited, unstable, and inefficient system. And from that limitation came one of the most revolutionary inventions of all time. The coin, we're talking about more than 2,700 years ago. In the 7th century BCE, in the ancient region of Lydia, located in what is now Western Turkey, came what many consider to be the first official coin in history. A small, oval-shaped object made of a naturally occurring metal alloy called electrum, a mix of gold and silver. This alloy was rare, hard to extract, and extremely valuable. But it wasn't just the material that mattered. The true innovation was turning that piece of metal into a universal symbol of value. For the first time, an entire society accepted that this object could represent goods, services, and mutual trust. This coin was more than just a precious metal. It was an invisible contract between people. When a merchant accepted an electrum coin in exchange for their goods, they believed that someone else would accept that same coin in the near future. That's the foundation of trust, and trust is the soul of any functioning economy. The invention of the coin marked the beginning of a new era for humanity, an era in which value could be carried in a pocket, saved, exchanged, and invested. The invention of the coin is attributed to King Alawates, but it was his son, the legendary King Croesus, who truly popularized and refined Lydia's monetary system. Croesus is still known today as one of the richest men in antiquity. He standardized coins, creating pieces with fixed weights, recognizable symbols, and a royal seal of authenticity. Many of these coins bore the image of a lion, a symbol of strength, courage, and sovereignty. The king's mark on the coin wasn't just aesthetic, it was a declaration of power and control over value itself. And why was that so revolutionary? Because it allowed for the creation of a dynamic, scalable, and fairer economy. With standardized coins, prices could be set, more sophisticated contracts were possible, and trade between regions expanded explosively. Merchants, caravans, and sailors began using these coins, knowing they could safely trade them in other cities and markets. This stimulated Mediterranean trade routes, brought cultures closer together, and promoted an unprecedented level of economic integration. The coin also became essential for the rise of city-states, empires, and the first tax systems. For the first time, governments could collect taxes in a unified unit of value, fund armies, build roads, aqueducts, and temples. Coins didn't just facilitate commerce, they organized society. In Athens, coins featured an owl symbol, of the goddess Athena and of wisdom. These coins circulated throughout the Greek world as emblems of Athenian sophistication. In Rome, emperors stamped their own faces on coins to reinforce their authority, a kind of metal propaganda that reached every citizen's hand. But the story of the coin also has a dark side. With it came the first cases of forgery, the first centralized controls over economies, and the first inflations caused by ambitious rulers. Many governments facing financial crises began to reduce the amount of precious metal in their coins. They melted them down, mixed in cheaper metals, and minted new coins in larger quantities. This process, known as debasement, eroded public trust. People realized their coins were worth less, and prices began to rise. So the very tool that brought order to economies also carried within it the seeds of collapse. Over the centuries, the concept of money evolved. From Lydia's electrum to Roman denarii, Byzantine solidi, to Islamic gold coins, the idea spread. Throughout the known world, each civilization molded its own versions with different weights, metals, and symbols. But the essence was always the same: to turn physical value into a symbolic medium of exchange. And with that, something extraordinary happened. Humanity began to tell its story through money. If you visit an archaeological museum today, you'll find that ancient coins reveal more than just numbers. They tell myths, ideologies, conquests, and crises. You can understand who ruled, what was valued, and how societies functioned just by looking at their coins. In many cases, these tiny pieces are the only physical evidence of entire civilizations that have long disappeared. They have survived time, war, and empires. They remain like metal capsules from a living past. Today, we use credit cards, digital transfers, and even cryptocurrencies. But the principle remains the same: symbolic trust in something that represents value. When you send money digitally, you believe that the number on your screen represents something real, something someone else will accept in return. Technology has changed, materials have evolved, but the conceptual foundation of money established nearly 3,000 years ago still stands strong. And to think it all started with a rudimentary piece of electrum collected from Anatolian riverbanks, heated in primitive furnaces, and shaped by hands that likely didn't realize how much they were transforming the world. That coin wasn't just a technical invention. It was a philosophical solution to a deeply human problem: how to create trust between strangers. Today, money is still the invisible thread that stitches together economies, governments, and societies. And even as it takes on new forms like the real, the dollar, the euro, or Bitcoin, it continues to carry the same essence: the power to represent value, trust, and human connection. So the next time you find a coin in your pocket or lying on the ground, remember, it's more than just a piece of metal. It's the result of thousands of years of ingenuity, need, and cooperation. It's the direct heir of an idea born in ancient Lydia, an idea that shaped the world as we know.